It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that one and done train. A league looking to build on one of its highest finishes in the analytics era with a few mid-major powers we have come to know and love. Plus, one school that hasn't been to the tournament in nearly 15 years looking to make a nest in unfamiliar territory. That's right, it's time for the Southland Conference preview right here on One and Done. Welcome to the show. Bienvenidos a todos. One and Done, your fast break of college basketball information. My name is Jay Heiner, the conductor of the aforementioned One and Done train, joined on this show, as all shows, by the man known around here as El Capitan himself, the captain of the One and Done ship at MC Holland 34 on X, the OG, Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, it's time for the Southland. What it do?
What to do? Yeah, it's Southland time, man. A lot of programs that are within close proximity to us down here in Central Texas, and yeah, a Southland conference that has been much improved over the past couple of years, man. So we got 12 teams that we're going to chat about, breaking them down into tiers, and looking forward to it as we continue our conference preview series for the 26-27 season.
That's right. With all these rulings that are going on, too, I think it's important for us to mention that we are recording this show on August 23rd, 2026, just in case something crazy happens and McNeese State pulls some rabbit out of their hats by the time the season starts. But for now, we're previewing these teams as they have been presented to us, even though one of them doesn't even have an official roster online. But we'll get to that shortly right here on the Southland Conference preview. Before we break all 12 teams down into our world famous tiers, let's do a little bit of an overview here. Mike, I said in the open, they are one of their highest finishes in the analytics here, actually tied for their highest finish, 18th out of 31 conferences in KenPom's strength of conference metrics. That tied the 08-09 season, Mike, for their highest finish in this era. Now, of course, we know the regular season crown in this league came down to the final weekend as Stephen F. Austin was able to hold off McNeese by one game. Both programs met up in the Southland Tournament final. McNeese getting revenge and getting that tourney bid, earning a 12 seed. They fought hard against 5 seed Vanderbilt. They were a popular pick in many people's brackets, but Vandy ended up holding on and beating the Cowboys by 10 in the opening round. This is one of the few leagues, Mike, without any realignment. So we're talking the same 12 teams we talked about last year on this preview show. So let's get to it, man. Let's get to it right here. After everybody, of course, pushes all those buttons. If you're watching on the FSAN college basketball or the FSAN basketball YouTube channel, push the subscribe button. And if you're hanging out with us and the numbers say that you are on some of our favorite podcasting platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, hitting those downloads, make sure you show us some love over there. Give us a follow. As not only are we previewing all 32 conferences across the entire country, Mike, but once the season gets here, we're also doing news and note shows once a week. And we're bringing you all that DFS content, all the DraftKings content you're going to want here as well. So hit all those buttons, follow along on this ride as it's time to break down the Southland Conference into our world famous tiers, Mike. It's going to start with the low tier, the foundation of this conference. 4 teams in the low tier. And if I do remember, this is a very balanced conference in terms of how we are laying out these tiers. So 4 teams in each tier, 4 teams in the low tier, starting with Incarnate Word. The Cardinals, here's the team that I was sort of hinting at earlier. Without the official roster online, super duper, guys. It's the end of August. Be nice to know, but we do know enough to know that we feel like they're going to end up in the low tier of this conference. Why do you expect the Cardinals to struggle, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, we had really high expectations for Coach Shane Hireman and the Cardinals last year, and they just had too many holes defensively to get it done. They fell from a preseason rank of 175 on KenPom to 265th by the end of the season. I think we're going to see more of the same because a lot of talent out the door. Bailey, Pike, Stavesky, those guys are gone. Those were pretty solid players. Looking for a name to watch, I'd give you San Diego transfer wing De'Aaron Goodwin. He's a player to kind of look out for, but just too many holes and not enough talent for the Cardinals, which is why we have them starting off our low tier. The next team is going to be Nicholls State. The Colonels here, they were 12-10 in conference play last year. And about a month ago, Coach Tevin Sadler resigned to become the Wizards G League head coach. And that led Nicholls to bring back former assistant Darian Brown to become the next head coach. So Brown was working in the NAIA ranks and definitely is going to have a tough task ahead of him. Guard Doyle Cockrell III comes in from Chicago State. He is an established scorer and playmaker, but Jay, a lot of unknowns on the roster thanks to nearly a full reset aside from the returning guard, Nick Crass.
Doyle Cockrell III, quite a regal name on this Colonel's roster. Man, it just feels like we're going to have to see something before we feel good about moving Nicholls State any higher than this. 12 wins in the league last year. That's not going to happen, unfortunately, this year with as much. I mean, that's tough to lose your coach.
Yeah,
that close to the start of the season. I mean, I understand wanting to take that job if you're looking to step up, but Coach Sadler leaving obviously puts Coach Brown in a bit of a pickle. We'll see if he and the Colonels can wiggle out of it. Also down in the low tier, the Houston Christian Huskies. Coach, easy for me to say, Coach Craig Doty enters year 3 for the Huskies. And I think, again, Mike, it's going to be tough sledding to get this team over the hump. What about this roster?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this roster, one of the guys who's going to have a bigger role is guard DeAndre Samuels. He averaged 9 points per game. Inefficient, though. Going to definitely need to improve there. A big problem with this roster, though, is the overall size and then the lack of outside shooting profile. So it's going to be tough for this group to get consistent results. And, man, putting them down here in this low tier with East Texas A&M, the Lions, 6-16 last year. No official roster for them as well. This will be year 5 in D1 for the Lions and Coach Jared Rosenberg. Unfortunately, like a lot of these teams down here in the low tier, it's a full roster reset. Just really hard to trust in the preseason, especially when we don't officially know what the roster is going to look like. But the projections show JUCO transfer guard Will Aldridge. Definitely a name to watch, Jay, for a program that struggled offensively since entering D1. I just don't know how we can make a projection that says they're going to make that much of an improvement to have an impact on winning.
East Texas A&M and Incarnate were a couple of teams without official rosters released. We have them in the low tier, not expecting much of a difference to be made once those rosters are officially posted. Either way, maybe they can make a jump, Mike. Who knows? But it's going to be tough. Just looking at some of the talent that we do know is sort of in the fold there. And then joining them down in the low tier, Houston Christian and Nicholls State. Tough for the Colonels to finish above 500 in the conference last year. Sort of get twists turned upside down, as a wise man once said. Tough for them. But we have Incarnate Word, Nicholls State, Houston Christian, and East Texas A&M in the low tier of the Southland. Let us know if you agree in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. All those Southland Conference fanatics, you got to be if you're hanging out with us here on One and Done, listening to some Southland Conference basketball talk, and we'd love to hear from you. Love to hear from the other sickos out there in the world of college basketball. And if you're here, you might as well hit all the buttons, right? Subscribe if you're on YouTube, or if you're following along on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure you hit the follow button. 5-star reviews all the way around, of course. That's the low tier, Mike. Enough of that. Let's advance the competition a little bit here, because we know, of course, on One and Done, these are like concrete, right? Lock it in. No movement.
Of course.
These tiers, it's exactly how it's going to finish, right? Of course. Maybe, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that I'm covering my mouth when I say all of these results are not allowed to be, said they're in concrete. But no, anyways, obviously having a little bit of fun, but we'll see if the mid-tier can pan out like we think it will. And it's going to start with the Northwestern State Demons, Mike. Coach Rick Cabrera entering his 4th year on campus, looking to get the Demons back to form that we saw just a couple of seasons ago in 2024, 2025, where they finished above 500 in the conference, 12-8 that year. So tell us what you know about this roster, Mike, and why we feel good about them being in the old mid-tier.
Well, stop if you've heard this before, but a lot of the roster is gone, as is the landscape in college basketball. But Guard Izzy Miles, who averaged 10.5 points per game. He does return, so a legit scoring weapon and a guy with the experience to run your offense. Big man Isaiah Vick comes in from the D2 ranks as one of the more intriguing players in the conference, a really strong rebounder and effective offensive weapon at that level. The question is whether or not he can bring that up to the Southland. And one thing I really like about this roster is their ability to space the floor, at least that projection. Now, they're definitely going to need to improve on the glass and on the defensive end if they're going to make this jump from where they were last year. I think as we go through the rest of these teams in the mid-tier, they probably have the shakiest floor of all the teams. But I think Coach Cabrera gets it done this year. Next up in the mid-tier is going to be the New Orleans Privateers. They were 12-10, so right here in this mid-tier as they finished last year. Don't have a finalized roster online. We got some guys on there, but it's not it's not enough guys to field a full team. So we'll kind of wait on that. But we do know that Coach Stacey Hollowell of the Privateers shocked a lot of people last year, including us. They finished just over 100 spots ahead of their KenPom preseason rank in the analytics. So what an impressive job by Coach Hollowell. Now their challenge is going to be, can they do it without all league guard JKV and Buckley? We know he was just an awesome player in the Southland for the past couple of years. But I do like these backcourt transfers that they're bringing in to kind of replace his production. You got Wagner guard Nick Jones. He averaged 15 points, 2.5 assists, and Canisius guard Khalil Singleton averaged 14 points per game last year, shot 39% from three. So these guys are legit offensive weapons. And Jay, the Privateers also projected to bring in one of the best JUCO players in the country, a 6'5" guard wing, Johandri Ortiz, who's a highly efficient three-level scorer with a really strong frame.
You know how I feel about these JUCO guys, Mike. It's more of a wait-and-see approach. But if that game translates, Ortiz makes the Privateers not just maybe somebody that's going to toil around the middle of this conference. If he can bring that ceiling and it actually translates, we could see them challenge for a boost here. The backcourt looking like a real strength for New Orleans, Mike. I think the concerns just on paper are youth and depth. So that lack of experience is sort of going to rear its ugly head at some point. Is it one of those sustained things that takes them too long to get over the hump, or can Coach Hollowell find a few key pieces from those younger guys to help them succeed in the Southland? We shall find out. I think they're going to be competitive, maybe even more competitive than we're giving them credit for here. But the Privateers of New Orleans for now will be right there in our mid-tier, joined by the Southeast Louisiana Lions, who finished 6-16 in the league last year. Coach David Kiefer had his first major setback since he took over during the 2019-2020 season. Obviously now, having them in the mid-tier would be another step in the right direction. Mike, what are your thoughts on the Lions?
Yeah, I'm going to cut Coach Kiefer a break, right? They're pretty bad offensively last year, which is where I think we're going to see the biggest improvement. This is a team the prior 4 years to that had won 10-plus conference games and were efficient on the offensive side. So when you look at it, we're going to count on this transfer class that's coming in. I like the names that they're bringing in. The outside shooting profile is going to be a question mark, but I think they're going to have enough offense to get it done. You have Nevada transfer Tyler Rollison, averaged 5.5 points, almost 3 dimes. He comes in as like a breakout candidate after playing a reserve role in the Mountain West. You have Eastern Carolina transfer Tybo Bailey, not the most efficient player during his first couple of years of college, but he is a former 3-star recruit, so some pedigree there. Obviously getting into his upper class years here. The light turns on for him. Look out. If you're looking for like the X factor for this team, they're bringing in 2 front court transfers from Bryant, Ashley Sims II and Quincy Allen. Man, Allen, he should be an elite level defender in the Southland. He carried a 6.5 shot blocking rate and a 4% steal rate in the AEC. And Sims, a really highly skilled big coming off of a nice freshman year. So I like this roster to make some noise if things click here. So Southeast Louisiana probably going to take a step forward here. And we'll round out the mid-tier with UT Rio Grande Valley. The Vaqueros, 14-8 last year. And that led to Khalil Fennell taking the head coaching job at Western Michigan this offseason. So UTRGV going to hand the coaching keys to Brandon Chambers. Chambers most recently served as an assistant under Will Wade at NC State last year. What you like about this roster, man, is just the talent that Coach Chambers was able to assemble. When you have to reset a roster, right, all the players are gone typically when the coach leaves. But getting in quality guys, especially from the P5 ranks, you got Jace Posey coming in from TCU, Devin Pryor coming in from Oregon, was started his career at Texas. So these guys both have potential in this league. Jay, they also get this transfer guard, Darius Carr, comes in as a kind of a consensus top 20, top 25 player from the JUCO ranks. So, yeah, there's some dudes in here.
When you're a branch from or of the Will Wade coaching tree, I guess I should say, it's not surprising to hear that you have a knack for getting talent to your campus. Finding Power Five guys and being like, hey, you know what you should do? Come down to the Rio Grande Valley and play college basketball.
Yeah.
We're right here in Central Texas. Shout out to the Valley. That's not exactly known for being a destination school, right? But when you can convince some of these former Power Five guys to come play for you because they're buying what you're selling and they're going to buy into it, and you can put that onto the court and into action, that makes the Vaqueros a very, very dangerous team. The ceiling here is a little bit higher. Again, I think this is another team just like New Orleans, where if you hit on everything, that could be a team that we could see jump up. But for now, Mike, we're gonna have UTRGV in the old MID tier, the old mid tier, the UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros, joined by Northwestern State, New Orleans, and Southeast Louisiana. And Mike, if we're going to be honest, and of course on one and done, we always are here on this fine basketball program, I got a little bit of an issue with these mascots. Normally, I'm all in a good mood. I love the mascot. I love seeing all the, we just put out the Screaming Eagles, the OVC. We were just live earlier today before we, hopped back into the studio to record this one. And we had some pretty cool mascots, right? We just talked about UTRGV, the Vaqueros, right? That's Cowboys, my friends. The Spanish to English translation. And then the first team in our high tier for this conference are the McNeese State Cowboys. We're just changing the language now. Like, I know we have conferences where there's multiple Lions or Eagles. I don't know, man. We're just gonna change. And that's a small thing here. Something that just irks me a little bit. We have it's like Spanish and the English version. Anyways, the Cowboys. When we're talking Southland, Mike, you got to spice up the conference preview show somehow. You know what I'm talking about? We got to figure out a way to get a little bit, find a tangent here. But we don't need to find a tangent to talk about how good McNeese State has been of late. And Bill Armstrong was up to following the tough act of the aforementioned Will Wade, who obviously spent a little bit of time at McNeese trying to rebuild himself and did it in quick fashion and moved along. So what could Bill Armstrong do, right? I can remember not feeling as confident that he was going to really be able to just keep the machine going. And, was I wrong? 19-3 in the league last year. The Cowboys getting back to the tournament for the third straight year, and they should feel good again with this roster, Mike.
Yeah, they should feel great. Larry Johnson, star guard, man. 17.5 points, 5.5 boards. He did hit the portal, but he opted to return. He's going to be the clear player of the year favorite in the preseason. Coach Armstrong did a nice job assembling more P5 talent around him once again. He got guards Daquan Warren, who comes in from Mississippi State, Elijah Moore from Utah, Jalen Dean Vines from Vanderbilt. So P5 talent headed to McNeese, where Will Wade and Bill Armstrong, right? The train just keeps going, man. They're getting these guys and giving them an opportunity. Oh, by the way, that was just the backcourt. How about the front court? Corey Chess from Ole Miss, Christian Nittu from Washington, and Elier Malik from Florida State. Those guys were playing Power 5 basketball last year. So looking for opportunity, you hit on one or two of these guys, and you're looking at another near 20 conference win type season for McNeese. So, legit chance for the Cowboys to finish inside the top 100 of KenPom once again. They've been a top 70 KenPom team the last 3 years. And yeah, we just always talk about them as being a strong mid-major team. I don't see that really changing going into next year. But They didn't win the regular season title, and that's because of the job that was done by Matt Brower at Stephen F. Austin. The Lumberjacks 20-2 in the league, so winning the regular season title, and one of the best coaching jobs in the country that hasn't been talked about enough, happening in Nacogdoches, Texas. They finished 91st in the country, just an absolute dynamite job because they were preseason KenPom ranked 234th. So a huge jump. They do get sharpshooting wing Nari Chadakavanich back. He averaged 10 points per game, 39% from three. I think he's going to pair really well next to ULM transfer MJ Russell, who averaged 15 points per game. Jay, I mean, like McNeese, SFA has some P5 players coming in. 6'8" forward Kobe Pearson from Texas A&M, 6'3" guard Ashton Simmons from TCU. Both guys didn't get much opportunity to showcase themselves, but here they are going the route that we see some of these players going to McNeese. Now it's happening at SFA.
Yeah, man, they're looking for opportunity, and those are lottery tickets at this level, man. Just hit one. And even if you sort of hit, if you just hit the Powerball and you just get your
Right?
$4 back, if you sort of hit the relative
Yeah.
version of that on some of these, just hit something on these guys to help you continue to be just as competitive. And obviously, Edwin Daniel coming in from LaSalle, 14 and a half minutes last year per game, played in 31 games. He's still only 14 and a half minutes. He's still almost blocked. He's blocked 39 shots last year, Mike.
Yeah.
Almost found a way to block 40 shots playing not even 15 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So if you can find a little bit of balance there, not somebody that you want to have to go through on the offensive end a ton and rely on there, but if you can keep him on the floor, keep him out of foul trouble, keep him healthy, and be that rim protector that you need. Maybe they're going to need him to play a few more minutes than that. But if that translates to that just rim protector that you need at any level of college basketball, I mean, this is going to be big for the Lumberjacks to repeat that regular season crown. Now, here's the team, Mike, in the cold open that I alluded to, trying to make a nest at the top. Maybe a little bit of unfamiliar territory here. At least for a while, it'll be 15 years by the end of this season since Lamar has made it to the big dance. And after failing to meet expectations under Coach Alvin Brooks, we get former FAU assistant Jordan Fee taking over the helm for Lamar. And Mike, my goodness, he wasted zero time assembling a very, very talented roster.
Yeah, he did assemble a really talented roster. First, he brought Nico Moretti with him. We know Nico. We've covered, FAU, just a solid player, right? A really good table setter. So, chance to be a breakout star in the Southland. You also got Memphis transfer guard Quante Berry in the fold. He's a wired scorer. He started his career at Temple. And then you add in talented JUCO guys, MJ Wardlow, D2 forward Caden Hinker, and you have a chance to be really competitive. There are some defensive and floor spacing questions, but I just look at the talent. I think it's going to be enough to carry you most nights, Jay, but I'm a little worried about the floor, and this is probably the team that, a UTRGV or a New Orleans would replace in the high tier. But I do like the upside, so we're going to take a swing here on Lamar to see if they can kind of get it going.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with playing the ceiling here with this Lamar team because it's there. And if they get the most out of their talents, and we'll see if Coach Fee can do just that at this level, even if Coach doesn't have it all together with his system, if the talent can outweigh a whole lot at this level if you just get the talented guys on there and you keep them healthy. And we'll see if Lamar can do that. We have him in the high tier in the Southland. Wrapping up our high tier are the Islanders of Texas A&M Corpus Christi, 13-9 in the league last year. Coach Jim Shaw has done a fantastic job sustaining success after Coach Lutz left. The Islanders have won 12 or more league games each year Coach Shaw has been on campus. The one thing that they have failed to duplicate is, getting that auto bid that we saw Coach Lutz do. Can Coach Shaw, and the Islanders get it done this year? What are your thoughts on this roster?
Yeah, I mean, another solid opportunity for Coach Shaw. I mean, They're another program that's replacing a lot of talent, but the portal haul really solid. I love this ad. NJIT transfer point guard Sebastian Robinson averaged 15 points per game and 2 assists, and also Tarleton State transfer Jordan Mizell, really experienced. And then you add in highly regarded JUCO wing CJ Warsham, and this is a legit backcourt. And he's not the only highly rated JUCO player coming in. You got forward DJ Kent and Demarion Watson. Those guys put up big numbers in the JUCO ranks. So, the X factor for me when I look at this roster, you're going to be looking in this front court at 6'8" transfer Dan McCuna. He was a load at the D2 level, 17 and 8. Can he make that transition? It's always a question mark for us. I think Shaw is going to be able to get the most out of these guys and have them near the top at the end of the season.
All right, that high tier in the Southland on one and done. McNeese State, Stephen F. Austin, Lamar, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. In the old mid tier, it's Northwestern State, New Orleans, Southeast Louisiana, and UT Rio Grande Valley. Down in the low tier, the foundation of the conference, Incarnate Word, Nicholls State, Houston Christian, and East Texas A&M. It's time, Mike, the billions of people on earth that are hanging out on YouTube watching their favorite college basketball program with an ampersand in the title, bringing you around the world, all the broskies and broskets, the one and done universe, the Southland Conference preview. Mike, it's time. They want to know, who do you think is going to win this league?
Yeah, I'm just going to continue to go back to the well. McNeese, it's just too much talent. You have the best player in the league. You got all these guys coming from the P5 ranks. Some of these guys like Corey Chest, we've actually seen him play legit minutes in the SEC. So, they have some guys looking for opportunity, but there's also some guys that have actually seen the court in the Power 5, and, they're going to come down to the Southland. I think Bill Armstrong's just done an impressive job. So I'm going to go with McNeese.
Here's the deal, man. I know Larry Johnson is a great player. I get it. If he's going to shoot 105 threes, I need him to make more than 25. He cannot be a sub 24% three-point shooter. Maybe these players that are coming in around him can draw a little bit of that attention, can make life easier on him, can make those better shots. Maybe it's a better shot selection that is sort of put in his lap. But he can't shoot 23.8% from three on that sort of volume and have me expect McNeese to be that team at the end of the year. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I don't really buy into as many of the players from the lower ranks stepping up for Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I want to see that before I believe it. And then again, like, Lamar is super talented, but I am actually going to go with Stephen F. Austin. I think Edwin Daniels is going to play a few more minutes, be that big time rim protector for them. And I think they're going to hit on those lottery tickets. I think Coach Brower is going to do another fantastic job. So I'm taking the Lumberjacks to win the Southland. Mike's taking McNeese State. We want to hear from you in the comments. Make sure you let us know. Make sure you let us know at One and Done CBB over on X as well if you want to. But make sure you hop in the comments, whether it's on your favorite podcasting platform or on the FSAN basketball channel on YouTube. We want to know who you think will win this conference, and let us know what you think about our tiers. Did we do a good job? I think we did a pretty dang good job. I think that we can make a case for a couple of mid-tier teams to maybe hop up, Mike. We can maybe make a case for one of those high-tier teams to not meet expectations. But I think overall this is going to be a fun conference.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's really strong last year, right? It's not often we see them inside the top 20 of the KenPom strength of conference metrics. But yeah, outside of McNeese and Stephen F. Austin, I think there is kind of a little more of a blurred line between maybe who would be the third, potentially fourth best teams in this conference. So yeah, we're going to have to see how these teams gel, who stays healthy. That's going to play obviously a key factor like it does with any conference. But yeah, playing some good ball here in the Southland.
No doubt about it. A lot of teams right here in Texas where we are obviously broadcasting out to the One and Done universe. Thanks for hanging out with us out there in One and Done land, broskies and broskets. We appreciate y'all for doing so. And again, if you're watching Southland Conference previews, OVC previews, which are two of the shows that we've just gotten into the can tonight, hey, We appreciate you and show us some love. We're doing this thing year round right here on One and Done College Basketball. Shout out to our guy Eric the Blue getting it done behind the scenes. Shout out to our guy Nate C. Hustle pushing the buttons tonight and pushing the buttons damn near always. We appreciate him for sure. Shout out to that guy sharing your viewing / listening, whatever device you are absorbing our channel on. Shout out to him. That's MC Holland 34 on X, the captain of the One and Done ship. El Capitan himself around these parts, Mr. Mike Holland. Hey, we've by the time you hear this, maybe it's September. Maybe you're like, man, I wonder, are these guys previewing every single conference? And the answer is yes, we are.
Yep.
So make sure you follow along on this ride as we're getting down. It's almost time for the big boys, Mike. They are approaching with great speed and vigor, and we shall cover it with the same intensity right here on One and Done. Until next time, my name is JAYHEINRICH. Come again. We'll see you.